So let's get started on this last project. It is one of the more challenging things, I think. But after you guys have worked with trade shows and packaging, I think you'll still be able to wrap your heads around this. Um, we are going to be doing a car wrap. So looking at the project sheet from the beginning, it's the format goes a lot like all of the rest of our projects, doing proposals and planning materials. You're going to be creating it for a fictional company. That being said, think about who needs to have a car wrap. Um, Not everybody, not every company needs one. So think practically about that. Um, a construction company would definitely have one. A band might have one that they put their equipment all in. A um, printing company might have one that they're delivering their things in. A restaurant could even have one that they cater with. There's tons of companies that would have one, but not all companies. So think about that. One student asked if they could use a company that they previously designed for. Um, and like they did a previous project kind of extending this. I'm okay with that, but I want to see some refinement to those logos. If you did it the first semester, um, it's probably not as good of work as you could do now. So I would like the work that's going. This is the final project of graphic design 2. This stuff is getting ready to go straight into your portfolios. It needs to be like very high level stuff. It's not just the same as the first projects where you're like, oh, I'm learning. This needs to be almost good enough to show a job. So if think about that when if you do pull from something else, it does need to be elevated to that level. So the first thing that you need to do is figure out what type of car they would be driving. And we're having a little bit of an issue with this link right now. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a workaround. So if you try to download these, a lot of them are not working. What you can do though is there's a variety of car types here. There's Jeeps, there is Ford, there is one of them I found out what type of car it was. Yeah, the Ford C-Max, that's like a little hatchback. So there's a variety of different cars here. So whatever you decide to do, I think that you'll be able to pick from here. So I would just I was searching those different names. So I searched the Nissan 470, and I found that that one is probably a van. So there's also trucks here. So you should be able to find an example. What you can also do is there's this website, Mr. Clip Art, and you can find them on here. So this one is the issue that I have on this website is, so I'm going to do a Ford Transit Connect are these little vans. Let's change the year, 2007. This one is, okay. The website I've actually been using is this really awful looking website. It's vehicletemplatsunleashed.com. This website is pretty hard to navigate, if I'm honest with you. But it does allow you to download some free templates. So what I did was I found that Ford Transit Connect and I downloaded it. It downloads it as an Illustrator file. So definitely find the right templates if we can't get this working. I emailed Jay, and he probably has the files on his computer. It's just not working on the SharePoint. So we'll probably find a way to get this. Or what I'm saying is that, or we can find that type as long as, or something close enough. So what I'm going to recommend doing is just going to Google car wrap template. I want to do a Ford Connect or Transit Connect. This isn't the highest quality, but it'll work for your planning materials. So you can just download this image, or you can probably find some a little bit higher quality if we click around. Yeah, that one's pretty large. Okay, so we'll just save that one. Now I can print this off and I can draw on this. That'll help me plan and know exactly like how and then I'm not trying to sketch out awful sketches of a van. I actually physically am just drawing on this. If you don't have a printer, I would try to get it as close as possible, or just for this purpose, I mean, we can honestly pull it into Photoshop and make a new layer. And so for mine, let's say I decided I'm going to do a lawn care company. So I decided I'm going to draw the sky up here. So this is just me planning. This is not a very good design, or like, let me put that on multiply so I can still see it through it. This isn't me trying to get this perfectly. This is me just kind of planning out like, okay, what might I do? And then I'm going to do some grass. And then maybe I have a guy that's actually physically mowing. So here's like the little lawnmower going up. And here's my guy walking behind it. And then the grass is much shorter back here. And then my little logo is maybe here. I'd have to, maybe this is why I'm planning, is because maybe I realized that the whole thing actually needs to move down there. And then we'll fix this. So now we have room that my logo can go. This is my logo. And then there's like the phone number to call. Okay. So that's my planning material. But what you want to think about is now on this opposite side, how are we going to design for the opposite side? Is the person just mowing the opposite direction? Like that could be the solution. So we got our long grass up here and our shorter grass, and then our logo and phone number. So that works. Sometimes the designs don't work both directions. Sometimes they, or like your logo won't, if you're trying to just throw your logo on the whole side, you need to think about how it's going to be cutting off some of that, or how it is going to translate across the whole entire thing. One thing you have to think about is like the practicality of your designs in this setting. So, for example, if you have your phone number right here, like how often is that place seen versus having your phone number and logo on this back window? People probably more often see the back window when they're parked behind you than when they see your like right here, because like they see that in the rear view mirror. It's reversed, kind of like the ambulance thing. So like that's probably not the most practical place to try to put a phone number that somebody's going to be trying to write down. But like the side of your car, they might see it when it's parked outside of your. So you pull this up and take your lawnmower out, you're mowing the person's lawn. They see this in front of the house. So then they see this parked this way and they're like, oh, that's cool. And they write down the phone number. So think about the practicality of all the placement of everything, like where they would see it when it's stuck in traffic, when it's sitting on the side of the road, etc. And think about the entire design of everything. Where'd my mouse go? There it is. So we've got the grass kind of going around. You're drawing this in all these different angles, but you want to make sure that you still have thought about everything from all these angles. So the grass is going all the way around the sides. I would say it looks like probably the grass kind of goes up into this area a little bit. And again, this is just planning material, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but it does need to be perfect in the final one. So here's my planning materials. We've got my logo up here. I've got the grass that kind of comes up a little bit. Everything is going to be blue, so let me put that layer in there. I just make the windows blue too, because why not? Change that to multiply 2. There we go. So that's a rough idea of my planning material. So, and it's not perfect by any means. Continuous. Deselect. There we go. That cleaned it up a bit. So it's not perfect by any means, but this gives a rough idea of what my plan is to do when I get into Illustrator. Again, I could have just printed this off, and I probably can do a little bit better drawing with marker than my trackpad. But that is a rough idea that we've got a plan now. And again, you're probably going to do a couple of these. So that's our workaround till we get the final templates that will work. And then when you get your final one, if the van is a tiny bit different, just kind of be aware that could happen, because I don't know exactly what options are here. I know there's a Jeep, I know there's a Ford, so your truck might look a little bit different or we can try to find another one that if it's not working. So I will stay in contact with you guys. So for the goals of this project, you need to research and report on best practices for vehicle design, wrap design. A lot of that's going to be kind of what I talked about, like placement of things. Think about like going over the lines of a door. Should your phone number be on the door? So when the door is open, you only see half the phone number. Or there's been a lot of funny mistakes with these. I've seen a few times where people make it so when you open one door, like the opposite side just says ass, or like those kind of things happen. So be aware and avoid those type of things. Produce high quality concepts. You produce portfolio ready designs. You're going to submit it on time. This is our final project, so I really need to have these on that final deadline, which most of you guys are really good about. Your proposals, I talked about this in an extra video, so if you haven't watched it, make sure that you are thinking about your target audience. For my little lawn care company, my target audience is going to be homeowners that need their lawns mowed. So that would probably be higher income people, because if you need your lawn mowed, you probably are very busy at work. And you probably make more money than you have time. So think about those type of things and like write that in your target audience. That's what I'm looking for, is that you've thought about who needs this service, and then think about how you're going to appeal to them. That's what your creative strategy is. So how do you appeal to people that have more time than money? Or more money than time. So like you have to think about those type of things, that, and like what you also want your company to be reliable. So what colors show reliability? So like blue is one of those colors that shows like reliability. So like think about that. Okay. And then I won't get too far into that. I talked about it in the other video. Planning materials. So you need to do your sketches. So you need to make a logo sketch. So you're coming up with a logo for this company. So mine is John's Lawn Care. I need to sketch out 3 thumbnails of what his logo would look like. And then I need to do 3 sketches of the vehicle wrap designs. So not just this one that I did, but save it, do another one, do another one. So not just the idea of the person. What other idea could I come up with? Maybe it's just like a pretty sunrise scene behind a really nice mowed lawn, or maybe there's a pretty house behind it, and that's how you're appealing to them, is like noticing that the house is really nice and then the lawn is really nice. Or maybe it's just a really well landscaped yard that is on the side of the car. There's tons of options. So like think about all of those different things and illustrate 3 completely different ideas. I don't want to say the same thing 3 times. And then you're going to pick the best one and do a rough vehicle wrap design based on your thumbnail sketches. And then that part is actually a little bit off. We don't have a peer review for this course because this final week is a little bit shorter. So, but if you do want to, I'm going to add a optional one in here so that you have the option to share and maybe give your classmates a review, some design, but it's not required because there's not quite enough time to put all of that into that final week. Okay, so make sure there's no errors on there. So this one, I'm gonna make sure that's the only place that's mentioning it. So there's no stock vector graphics. What I'm looking for is, okay, I'm just making sure before I say it. So it technically says that you're allowed to use a stock image for this. You're allowed to use, but not a vector stock graphic. So you can't just get a vector hammer for your construction company. That's not allowed. But you are allowed to go to like Unsplash and get a construction. None of these are really what I'm looking for. And get like a lawn care photo. But think about how that is going to work for this. Is that how are you going to make an image wrap all the way around all sides? Does that make sense? You need to, like, part of a wrap is how it wraps around the whole entire car and how it seamlessly, you can walk around the entire thing. So images often aren't the best option. I've seen many options or many times where they do work really well though. So think about that. The other thing to think about is like the movement of your design. This is one of my favorite things about car wraps is when they kind of take that movement and like cars move. So like you're putting movement into your design as well with abstract lines. I kind of prefer those. Like this one is actually kind of a good example of how you can use an image and it can work. This is a image of spaghetti and they have kind of wrapped it so that it seems seamless. This one's a really kind of funny looking car. Here, this is technically also, actually no, this one is illustrations. This one is an example of a really bad one. See, you don't want your logo to be kind of like at the bottom where people are rarely going to see it. This just seems placed here to fill that extra space. So you don't want this. Where this one, I mean, technically it's in the best position for this type of car. And this one, the whole design seems to be kind of pointing you in the direction of the logo, where this is just kind of thrown on there at the end. Here's another one that has a lot of movement. This one's kind of nice because those lines are kind of giving you some implied, pointing you into this negative space. They also have the logo across the back. They've made the little spoiler pink. So you're kind of just painting the car. So just look through a bunch of different examples of these. You can see they work on tons of different types of cars. There's hatchbacks. There's one last thing to think about before you pick out your car is think about what makes sense for your brand as well. If you're a construction company, you're not driving a sports car. If you are a like catering company, you're not driving a little tiny like Mini Cooper. You're getting a car that everything can fit into. So if you're a construction company, you need to have space for all of your construction materials. So you're probably driving a truck or a utility van. If you are a catering company, again, you're probably like a utility van or an SUV. So think about what is practical for the application. In my graphic design 3 class at Rowan Cabarrus, they do car wraps too. Theirs is a little bit more specific. They're designing a brand for like a city to promote tourism. So in their project, they have to think about also like the budget of the company. So if they are a city that's doing tourism, they probably don't have a huge budget. Like application-wise, a sports car would be fine because they're just driving it around for tourism. But they couldn't afford a sports car. So also that's another thing to think about is, yeah, maybe your company can have a smaller car, but practically could they afford that within what their company does? So like, yeah, they're just a hair salon, but that has a car sitting outside with a car wrap, but do they have enough money for a sports car? So the reason that you're thinking about this is in your portfolio, you don't want it to look silly. You don't it may be fun right now to do one for a sports car, but just be aware of the final application of how this is going to look. You want it to look as realistic as possible. So it's more likely that you would do one of these car wraps for a lawn care company that on a truck, or that you would do a car wrap for a construction company or catering company, or yeah. So just think about the practicality of what car they would be driving and how they would want that to look. Okay, I think I've covered everything. I'm going to go in depth next week on how to actually set this up and how that file needs to look. Actually, I'll probably do it over this weekend and I'll post it for you guys. And I'll share a bunch of videos too about how to actually be setting all of this up. But first, I just want you guys to get started on your planning materials and your proposals. So I hope this helped a little bit. Again, just kind of searching car templates and what type of car you're thinking. If you don't know cars very well, then you could just do car template. And there is tons of them. You're going to want these kind of flat, more illustration-based ones, not like this one. This one is a little bit harder to draw over top of because it has the shades of gray. But there's tons of these to be kind of just stolen from the internet to draw over. So I think with this, you'll be able to find a way. You can even just put truck and you'll find one of a truck. Or you could put... So I think this will help you get started, and hopefully I'll hear back from Jay. As soon as I do that, I will update you guys and I will start the tutorial on how to actually set it up in Illustrator. Okay, I think that's all, and I will get back in touch with you guys soon. Thank you. Bye.